And will the clerk please call the roll?
Oh, wait.
There she goes. Woodward.
Here.
Oh, here. Fleming.
Here.
Berman.
Here.
Bowman.
Here.
Todd.
Here.
And Spiz is absent with notice. We have a quorum.
Okay, I'd like you to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I need a motion to approve the minutes of February 27th, moved by Fleming, supported by Bowman. Any additions or corrections of those minutes? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay, now I need a motion to approve the agenda, moved by Berman, supported by Woodward. Any additions or corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay, on our public comment, I have Mr. Bertolini and a surprise guest.
Yes, you do. I'm just signing in to make sure I'm legal.
Oh!
Come on up with me. Commissioners, and it's so far away.
Well, sit.
Hi.
Sit and relax.
I want to introduce, and many of you already know, Dr. Tim Meyer, who's the former chancellor of Oakland Community College. He has just been brought in to be the Deputy County Executive in charge of economic development. We're excited to have Tim on board because he has so many skills, especially when we talk about talent and the skills gap and all the things that we've been talking about for quite some time, that we have an issue in this county on how to manage our talent and what we're going to do, and those resources will help us drive economic development. You know, you talk about, and everybody was talking about the Amazon bid and all the reasons that we didn't get it as Metro Detroit, but one of the real reasons is they didn't believe we had the talent pool, and that was one of the things that they communicated there. And we want to make sure that we've done everything we could possibly do here in Oakland County to manage that effort going forward, and we believe Tim is the right guy to do that. We're excited to have him on board, and if you have any questions, Dr. Tim Meyer.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Oh, Dave Woodward.
Well, that's what's your question. I mean, and I completely agree with the talent argument, but I would argue that it's not so much that we don't have the ability to produce the talent. We have among some of the best schools, best universities, highest concentration of all of that. We have, and under, Mr. Meyer's leadership, an incredible community college that continue to rebuild skill.
Yeah.
We have a problem keeping our talent.
Yep.
That our competition is not just
Mass
anymore.
Transit. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, I'm getting there. I mean, it's not just the New Yorks, the East Coast and the West Coast that we're competing with. We're competing with Cleveland and Columbus, of all places. No offense to Columbus.
Oh, that's the worst.
I thought you'd appreciate it. And obviously Chicago and other areas. And it's looking at all of our infrastructure. It's looking at, and transit is a part of that. And if we don't crack that nut, it is going to continue to be another reason why particularly young talent, new talent, is looking for lifestyles and the public amenities that are necessary to want to keep one in an area.
So I'd like to address that because I agree with most of it, but not all of it. And the reason being is there's so many reasons young people leave. We do a project, we do a project with Michigan State University every year where we bring 8 to 10 students in. They do projects for us, and they do it as part of their class. And I used to meet with them, and 10 years ago, we've been doing it for 12, 13 years, but about 10 years ago, I asked them, what are you going to do after you graduate? And to a person, they were moving away. We had a terrible recession underway. There was no jobs. Now when I ask that same question, they're all looking here for jobs. They prefer to stay closer to home. They don't necessarily have to run off and go to some city elsewhere. So it is about the jobs, and it is about the opportunities. I do beg to differ a little bit on our schools, and I'm not saying our schools are bad, but we could do a lot better with education and public education in this state, and we all know that, and we've talked about that ad nauseum with everybody. So we do realize we have a problem. What I do think, though, is I think Amazon, quite honestly, was short-sighted. If you look at some of the proposals they got, there were people promising them billions of dollars. A city like Chicago, I think, promised them $6-7 billion. I don't know the exact number, but it was in the billions. They promised it, and they're in deficit,
Yeah.
the worst deficit of any city in the country, and they promised them all this money. So I'm not sure exactly how that all went, but I do know that we have a growing area. We do have good education as far as higher ed. We do have great universities. We do have job opportunities now, and we have a glut of people because we have all these openings, and we just don't have the people to fill them. So I think that is one of the reasons why when we talked to Tim originally, we think that's an important thing because, and I apologize if the way I said it didn't make it all encompassing, but we want to look at talent from every aspect. And some of the things that you talked about, Commissioner, have to be brought into the equation. What is it that's going to attract people here? We have high-tech businesses. We still have all the R&D for North America for the auto industry. I mean, it's all right here. Why are we struggling to get talent? Then I talk to my peers around the country. They're all struggling right now. There's just not enough of them. So what we have to do is find ways to get that pipeline, get them in here, and do what we have to do. And we think that's why Tim will be an excellent Deputy County Executive for Economic Development. And then plus we have a great team that can go out and do all the things that we've been doing to attract businesses here. But we will run into a problem if we attract businesses and we don't have the skills and the talent to fill those jobs. So I agree, but then I disagree on some.
Tim, you could say something too.
Oh, thank you.
I know you've got the
Thank you.
thoughts on this topic.
Again, I think it's important to look at the whole equation because businesses require access to information, they require access to capital, they require access to talent. And if we're looking at the whole venture of business development and community development, it's predicated on the idea that we have access to that talent. So we have three moving equations or three moving targets in my viewpoint. We have businesses that need to help us by accurately defining and projecting what their employment needs are. I'd hate to create a pool of talent for which there is no need or a minimum amount of need. We really need to take a look at and help businesses describe what that priority is as far as their growth and their understanding of what their future is. I think that the second part of that stool, or the second leg of that stool, is the academic institutions in this county. If you take a look at it, and about a year ago when we did a head count, there were 25 degree-granting higher education entities in Oakland County. I don't care where you go. You can look at CMU and the big white tower there on Crooks and Square Lake. I mean, you can review all the different entities as well, private and public. And so we have the capacity to deliver, but we have to have them understand what is the priority for that talent development, because most of them are public institutions. So we have to help them understand really where that priority is. And finally, and probably the most frustrating, is there's a large pool of potential students or students that we really have to help them understand what their career opportunities are. It's just not all streamlined. It's not like it was last year or the year before or 10 years ago. But that talent need is redefining itself and reinventing itself. And if we can better understand that and hook up with the businesses to help the students understand what their future talent needs are going to be, then I think we can start to attract students into those different career tracks. So I think we've got three major pools of opportunity that we have to be the connective tissue and bring them together. And that's about as simple as I can state it.
And then there's a job on the other end of it. And that's the piece that I think our region offers that many others don't, is we have all the jobs sitting there. I mean, you talk about the openings that the company was scrambling. Brooks told the story in the State of the County about the auto mechanic. Someone called him, wanted to know if there was a pool of auto mechanics. And he said, why? And we didn't have any. I think we were looking, we didn't have them. And he said, why? And he said, well, if I could find one that has any experience, I'd start him at $120,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so the jobs are there. And I guess the other piece of this too is we have to not just focus on higher ed. We also have this skilled trade issue that's going to have to be dealt with. We need people to do those jobs. And coming from as a parent of someone who went to the Oakland Technical Campus, my son was made fun of when he was going to get his culinary classes because they thought he was not academic enough to go on to the university. He had a great ACT, great grade point. They just thought since he wanted to be a chef that it wasn't the right thing. And so and I had parents tell me that how dare I take a college-ready kid and turn him into a cook. But he's now doing what he loves to do and what he's passionate about doing. We need those people. And I think that's why our Economic Development Department, under Tim's leadership as the Deputy County Executive with Irene, Dan, and the whole team, and Jennifer, the Workforce Development, we're going to have to make a dent in this. So we're looking forward to the effort moving forward.
The other thing, are there any other questions for Phil? I wanted to add something else. The one thing nobody talks about, and personally I've had this experience, take a 1,500 square foot, three bedroom, 2.5 bath home in Oakland County in a nice suburban area, $350,000 to $450,000 max, okay? Period. End of story. You go to the East Coast, and that same exact house is $750,000 to $800,000.
Go look at California.
$1.5 million to $2 million. I've got kids on both ends. I've got my nieces and nephews in California. I've got 2 kids on the East Coast. I know what they're paying for houses that you guys would faint over or drop dead on, quite frankly. I mean, it's unbearable. It is unbearable. And we're talking about fixer-uppers that they bought, not brand-new houses built the way you want to see them built. The livability in Oakland County and in the Tri-County area for the most part, particularly in the suburban areas, are tremendous. But they take people to the city of Detroit, and it looks beautiful. It's wonderful. All the exciting things. But until the neighborhoods are fixed and people see those neighborhoods, they think, where am I going to send my kids to school? I don't think that next step was taken with some of the people who toured. That's my personal opinion, because if you look at even the gigantic mansions that we have in Oakland County, in places like the city of Bloomfield Hills, Oakland Township, they didn't see those. They didn't see those at all. I'm positive of that.
Well, you know, the gentrification of the city of Detroit is quite an interesting. I mean, they're studying it nationwide.
Right.
With what's happening in the city. And the city, Mayor Duggan's trying, and I know everybody's trying, but they've got to fix the education pieces and they got to fix the neighborhoods. We get it. We had that information in their hands. That information was an addendum to the Amazon proposal. Oakland County was not left out of the proposal.
Okay.
Okay, I went and looked at it before it was presented. So they had everything there. It's just, I'm not so sure the incentives that were put forward by the state of Michigan and the incentives that were put forward from a tax incentives or funding was what they were looking for. Ours was in the millions, others were in the billions.
Okay.
I think it's pretty simple.
Well,
but there were
losing out.
issues, don't get me wrong, and our region has its challenges. But I think that's why we as Oakland County need to do a better job of seeing what we can do with that skill side and with the talent side, and make sure that we're getting that message out there. And that's one of Tim's charges, to make sure we do everything we can possibly do to grow that talent base.
I agree. I agree. Anybody else like to add? And I know Jennifer Llewellyn, for those of you who don't know Jennifer, she's our listen to me, workforce development person.
Because you were thinking skilled trades.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. She's going to make sure that all this happens. I know.
Everybody's working it.
Yeah. Anything else from anybody? Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioner.
Dr. Meyer, for coming, and welcome. Okay, next on our agenda is Dan Hunter and Brad Hanson. On number 1 on the agenda, Economic Development and Community Affairs Resolution approving the provisions of a brownfield plan for the 26700 Wixom Road project, City of Novi. I need a motion. Moved by Bowman, supported by Wade Fleming. And afterwards, we'll set the public hearing. Okay.
Good
Shoot.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The Villas at Stonebrook, a 26-acre industrial piece of property that Pulte is looking to redevelop into residential. If you're familiar with Grand River going west, you have Providence Park. And this piece is just west of Providence Park. And actually, their plan for the site has a connection, like a bicycle or a pedestrian trail, to connect to Providence Park for what would be a age-friendly community. So for the details of the brownfield, I will turn it over to Brad Hanson.
Brad?
Good afternoon. This is a former, on the 26 acres, there's a former steel operation plant, about 39,000 square feet that currently stands there now. So that'll be obviously demoed, and Pulte will build 43 duplexes totaling 86 units for age targeted of around 55 plus. So those are your empty nesters, active adults as they classify them. It's overall a $30 million project. this site is a facility. It is contaminated with VOCs and a minor amount of PCB, so the site is contaminated, needs to be cleaned up, especially for it being residential. Residential has your highest standards as far as cleanup needed for any brownfield project. $30 million investment, $934,000 in eligible activities that Pulte will be reimbursed over a very short payback period of 4 years, which is quite nice. Current taxable value is $1.2 million roughly, and projected tax value is $18.7 million when all the homes are completed. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Berman.
I think I saw that they plan on taking ownership in 19. When do they plan on having the development completed?
It looks like it's about a 2 or 3 year time frame, beginning later this year, late 18 or 19, and running through 20 and 21. So the base year is the 2017. That's that base value of roughly 1.2 million that Brad mentioned, with a 2 to 3 year construction time frame.
Yeah, the full capture, the last page in the brownfield plan is the tip table, and the first year of capture listed on here is 2022. So I'm assuming that by the end of 2021, all the units will be completed.
And nobody likes this?
Yes,
Yes.
Novi is fully on board. They passed, it should be in your the packet, they passed both resolutions needed in full support.
And the fire department loves it?
I would assume so if they,
It's
yes.
close to Providence Hospital. I'm trying to make a joke. 55 and over? Okay, never mind.
Gotcha.
Not a big commute. Sorry. Commissioner Bowman, did you have something you wanted to say?
Make room for the talent.
I have a little curiosity about the development agreement overall. Is there any kind of indication related to, income eligible residents within the development, or are these kind of all at market value?
I believe they're pursuing the market value, Commissioner Bowman. Their estimation on the sale price of these was, I think, around $400,000. From the pictures that were in the plan, very solid materials. Square footage, I think, was around 1,500 square feet.
See, like I told you, 1,500 square feet for $400,000 in Oakland County. Pardon me?
That rate per square foot, I'll sell my house.
But still, compared to the east and the west coast.
It's a value.
Yeah, it is value.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and Pulte builds a nice house. And he built his first development in Bloomfield Township. I just thought I would throw that in there. Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Will you call the roll, please?
Woodward.
Yes.
Fleming.
Yes.
Berman.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Tubb.
Yes, motion carries. Now I'd like to
Thank you.
set a public hearing for the Oakland County Board of Commissioners meeting on March 21st at 7:00 p.m. for the resolution approving the provisions of a brownfield plan for the 26700 Wixom Road project, City of Novi. Do I need approval? No. That's it. Okay, we're
Thank you.
all done. We'll see you
Thank
at
you.
caucus next week.
Yeah.
Next item is communications. Any questions on communications? David. I've got David and David. Okay, Commissioner Bowman, I should do better.
No
You
worries.
start first.
So related to communications, this is identifying our high school exploration mission careers quest initiative. And it notes that, I believe it was March 1st, that the original, I guess it appeared to be either a mandatory attendance of a session to inform communities or schools that this particular event is going to be transpiring. Are there additional kind of outreach efforts to inform school districts or communities of this opportunity of itself? And if not, I'd like to suggest one in particular.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. In regards to your specific question, Commissioner Bowman, the March 1st event was a kickoff event, It was not mandatory. It was highly encouraged, but not mandatory. We've actually had a significant amount of interest from school districts and corporations since that event. And we are exploring other kickoff meetings if they're necessary. But at this point, the next steps are each one of the quadrants for the MicroQuest event, so construction, healthcare, information technology, and advanced manufacturing, will be hosting independent meetings each month to really start to develop those quadrants. In addition, we've developed a school committee, which is not launched yet. We're in the process of identifying representatives from the ISDs throughout the region, and they will meet each month, starting probably in April, leading up until the event in November, to ensure that we have full engagement with our ISDs and respective school districts.
So I guess my follow-up question is, just in terms of if a entity wants to participate, ultimately they contact your office and sign up for one of the identified time slots. That's the current process, correct?
Absolutely. So in front of you, you have a sponsorship packet as well as a PowerPoint presentation. So this is the sponsorship and participation guide. You have a PowerPoint that we used for the March 1st kickoff event that nicely summarizes the event, as well as other materials. And so companies or school districts that are interested in participating are encouraged to contact our project manager. Her name is Beth Tomaszewski. Her contact information is on all of the materials. We are currently accepting sponsorships and exhibitors on the corporation side. The plan for the school districts is that we will allocate a number of spots per county based on school 7th through 12th grade student enrollment. So Oakland County will get a percentage of slots, Macomb, Wayne, Washtenaw, Livingston. Those slots will then be first come, first serve. So school districts will have the opportunity to register online until the spots for each one of those communities, each one of those counties are filled. We anticipate to have that website live by May. We'd like to get to the school districts before the end of the school year to give them enough time to secure transportation and arrangements for November of the following school year.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wood,
If
oh,
I
I'm
could-
sorry.
I just want to say, that this is another caveat, thank you for your recent outreach effort related to workforce development and job creation, and attending the town hall in Pontiac recently. I'm looking forward to introducing you to more forums, but I just want to say thank you for that effort.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure to be there.
Mr. Woodman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hey, look at that. I don't even need to come anymore. I got all my questions. I mean, I know that as when I first became aware of this very audacious task that's being undertaken, something, I mean, and it's audacious, and incredibly supportive of, without question. And actually, when I was talking about, I guess I didn't fully appreciate the 5-county reach of this effort, so that adds a whole nother level of complexity to the effort. But I think it makes a lot of sense. But in that process, I mean, that conversation brought up figuring out how do we ensure, I mean, and focus on our Oakland County schools to make certain that we eliminate the transportation barriers to get folks here. And I know that our staff has been working on it. I think they've reached out to you, and I think we want to continue to figure that out, but it's something that I'm deeply committed to, because I think this is an excellent opportunity, and it would be a huge shame if it's because a school district doesn't have the financial ability to get kids to this, and we have the resources to eliminate that barrier. I want to make sure that happens, and so thank you for your work on that. I guess the second question, and obviously that we're the coordinating space of all of this, and we're trying to raise the money for this, the sponsorship for this program. How much are counties being asked to invest in this themselves? Or are we looking for the private sector to pony up all the cash, which is ideal?
Yeah, our primary goal is the private sector, and so far we've been quite successful. We've secured the presenting sponsor, which is the State of Michigan Talent Investment Agency, which secured the $50,000 sponsorship. And just last week, Beaumont Health System signed on as our $25,000 platinum sponsor for the healthcare quadrant. We've also secured a fair number of bronze sponsors, Desai Solutions from Pontiac, the local operating engineers out of Howell, who am I missing? Alliance Mobile Health signed on for a bronze sponsorship in the healthcare systems. And Irene has reached out to several organizations, so our work continues in securing those sponsorships. The ideal scenario is to have the $340,000 of available sponsorships covered with the private sector. We're using our contributions as far as staff time. The other 5 Michigan Works agencies representing the other counties also have staff that are dedicated to the steering committee and planning the event. They have also expressed interest in the transportation suggestion that you put forward. I did speak with Chris Ward about what that looks like. Our initial thoughts are if the funding is approved and secured, to get it directly to Oakland Schools ISD to allow them to make the arrangements with the specific school districts that need that support, and to get our department and our division just right out of the way. We would just be another middleman at that point. So to get them directly to the organizations that need it. And the other counties and Michigan Works agencies have also expressed interest in the transportation question, and we will be encouraging them to do the same with Wayne, Risa, and the Macomb Intermediate School District.
I think that's great. Excellent. Yeah.
Other questions? I have a question. Has anyone contacted Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan?
Yes, I have.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
So, right now, we're learning that it takes time for, our contacts to work through the respective processes to secure the sponsorships and secure exhibition space. But we have a lot of really great contacts, and we're going to continue to work on those. Thankfully, we have some time. We'd like to get at least the sponsorships in place by the end of April. And then that will allow us, May through really September to start securing the exhibitors. We want the exhibitors. It's not just a booth. It's not just come to my Blue Cross Blue Shield booth and get flyers about working at my company. These are all hands-on, interactive exhibits where the students can touch and feel and learn about what it takes to be a respiratory therapist, or to be a bricklayer, or to wire something that's electrical. So each one of the 4 quadrants will have anywhere from 20 to 25 occupations that are exhibited, and each one of the occupations will be hands-on and interactive, not just a flyer.
Just asking, will you have a place for cooks?
Possibility if it's an
Hey,
in-demand
I'm going to that
career
kid's
occupation.
restaurant. I'm going to be
Yes.
the first customer there, right in front of his parents.
If you're interested, I believe it's April 26th, West Michigan Works is hosting their event in Grand Rapids. There is a team of us that are headed to their event. I had the opportunity to attend last year, which is what really inspired. I came back, I was like, we have to do this. So if you're interested in seeing the model of what November might look like, we can make arrangements for you to visit the West Michigan Works event.
Orrin will be part of that too.
I'm sorry?
Beatty will be part of that. He's used to be Upper Peninsula Works.
Oh, Orrin Bailey, yes, yeah. He's with Connexus now in the
Right.
Southwest Quadrant,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Okay, yes. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. I forgot, I did have one last question. And since, obviously this model is built on something that's proved, hugely successful, are there things that happen prior to and afterwards? I think this is excellent. I think it opens up possibilities and inquiry among our young future leaders. But I guess then what's next?
Right.
What happens as a result of a student that participates in this? What is the What's the trajectory?
So prior to, we will encourage the school districts to develop materials to educate and prepare the students, you know, maybe questions to ask. We will also be providing the school districts that participate with a toolkit of how to prepare their students for this event. At the West Michigan Works event last year, they provided like small baseball cards for each occupation where the students could flip them over and see how much the occupation pays and where they could go to school. So we don't, again, want to overwhelm them with paperwork or data, but maybe like a small card or an app. We have a lot of ideas at this point of how we could provide them with data. We're also planning on doing a follow-up survey with the students, with the volunteers, with any educators that are present, and obviously our employers, to get their feedback, their engagement. And then, you know, we hope that the school districts will take some of that information and really run with it. This is our first year. So we're taking somewhat of a conservative approach the first year. Our West Michigan Works colleagues have literally saved us probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in staff time. They gave us the whole packet. It is trademarked, but all of the logos, all the materials, all the fact sheets, all the best practices, all the job titles, signage, that was all given to us at no cost with their partnership. So we were able to take that and run with it. So if I'm a little tentative this first year, it's really because we just want to get 10,000 kids there and just pull off the event
And back.
successfully. So,
Yeah.
Great.
Other questions? Well, I'll tell you, I'm very enthusiastic about it. I think it's wonderful. I think we should mark our calendars and see if some of us can't at least be present to see how this thing works. It's amazing. And, yeah.
great, thank you. We're very excited. We'd love to have you there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else anybody has that they want to talk about? Anything exciting, Irene?
Oh, a lot of exciting things. Our Tech 248 meetup this week is
You
at
want to
Fanuc.
go and tell us, and then we'll.
Sure.
Yeah, I need a motion to receive and file the communications moved by Woodward, supported by Berman. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we're done. Irene?
Yes. So we're very excited about the MI Career Quest. As a department, we're all working on this to make sure it's a success. We have our Tech 248 meetups, our monthly meetups, again, where we bring our IT community, our IT techies together to know each other and to hopefully spur some business opportunity amongst themselves. And our next one is at Fanuc on Thursday or Friday? Friday morning in Rochester Hills. That should be very exciting. If you're interested in attending, let us know. We'll get you registered right off the bat. And then we're continuing our business development trips. We have our calendar agreed this year. We're partnering with the MEDC, the Detroit Regional Chamber, and just selling Oakland County and bringing the businesses here and keeping the businesses here. We've increased our retention goals for this year so that we can go visit more of our existing companies and making sure they're connected to the resources at the county and at the state.
Any questions for Irene? Phil?
Just real quick too, and commissioners, for years we've been talking about how do we inform, and if you remember from the IT perspective, we do a quarterly report where it's a very high level summary. We're looking to develop the same thing for this committee, so we're going to work on some information that we can provide you that you could take with you and you would be able to use if you're talking to your constituents or whatever you're doing in the communities where you're working. So we're working on that, and we hope to have that rather soon for you. Again, when we did IT, it was a little trial and error. We did some things. You guys wanted to switch it up. We're cool with that. So we'll provide you with what we have, and we can work it from there. And we'll adjust it accordingly. But we'll have something that you'll be able to take with you each quarter. We'll have numbers and work that's being done.
And it would be very, very helpful if you had something kind of like what we get from finance. You know, they put the budget there on a little plastic card or something.
I think it's Tom Middleton does that, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay, but it would be
Late at
helpful.
nights in his basement.
Yeah.
If we had
I think
something.
he laminates.
Yeah, it was in his basement. Okay.
Well,
So
let's see what we come up with the
Okay.
report, and then we can talk about what you might need from there, because we'll try to make sure that, I want to make sure we give you the right information and that it's at the right level so that you can be able to use that to
Correct.
talk to your folks, okay?
Perfect.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So anything else happening? Okay. Any other questions from this group? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned.
Thank you.